This is the only reason you keep reacting to these unsettling situations. Now, I want to talk about dissociation. Dissociation, from the word itself, dissociation is when you are not associating yourself with your own body. Dissociation is essentially when yourself is not connected to your present moment. Is when you are not connected to your present moment. Now, what does this look like? So, let's say you are in an argument, right, with your partner, and because you feel like you're blamed, because, like, let's say your partner is being assertive to you, let's say your partner is actually deciding who's the one who's wrong, like, let's say I'm the one who needs to be blamed, or she is the one who needs to be blamed. Let's say at this given situation, I was the one who's wrong, and she was the one who's right. What dissociation means in this moment is when you are, let's say you're the one who's wrong, and because you feel blamed, you don't like the feeling of feeling blamed. So what you do is actually you shut down, or you might be angry to her for blaming you. It's when you're not connected to your own body. It's not when you're connected to the present self. Like, you're not saying, okay, like, what's actually happening right now, right? And the reason for dissociation is because it's trying to protect our own body from any threat that is happening to us. Now, if you watch my videos, I talk about childhood wounds, right? Childhood traumas. These childhood traumas, it can form the dissociation for us. And what does this look like is basically when we are in this sort of state of fight, flight, or fawn, right? If you know our nervous system, if there is some sort of adrenaline going up, we have this responses to fight, flight, or fawn, right? This can happen when dissociation happens. And we do dissociation because we are sort of replaying our trauma back then. Now, why do I say it's like a protective strategy, right? Because let's say I'm just gonna keep on giving examples, right? Let's say you are what is it? Let's go back to the example that I talk about. Let's say you're arguing with your partner, and then how you protect yourself from that is actually lashing back out to her when you're the one who's actually blamed. Because let's say during your childhood times, some moments during your childhood to your adolescence, let's say your mother actually told you and criticized you and giving you lack of affirmation that you are loved, that you are worth, without any performative action, right? Because let's say the reason why you keep on lashing back out at her, even though let's say you are wrong, right? But you keep on trying to defend yourself from that mistake, is because yourself needs some sort of assertiveness. You yourself need some sort of affirmation that you're loved without having to perform or to prove that you're right. Because let's say if you're a perfectionist, that's sort of the persona or the behavior that you build from. If you have a mother wound, it can also derive from a father wound, but if I'm giving some sort of personal experience from this, you can create perfectionism from your mother wound. Your mother can be critical, or your mother can give lack of affirmation to you, or your mother just wants you to be flawless in every part of your life, even in small details. So you will sort of become this you will become hyper self-aware of yourself, and you will notice those small mistakes that you do that you don't like, and you want to fix it straight away. So whenever you make a mistake, That's you proving to yourself that you're not enough, that you're not gonna achieve your love, you're not gonna receive love from anyone. And then you bring that sort of behavior and that rewiring, that belief that, oh, if I make mistakes, then I'm not gonna be loved. You bring that belief into relationships, right? And so when you have this, when you bring this belief into those relationships, like I mentioned before, relating back to the situation where you're in an argument and you're actually wrong, you don't want to be wrong, so so your inner child is like trying to save you from the fact that you're being blamed, because your inner child doesn't feel safe that is being blamed. So what he's gonna do, he's gonna try to protect you, right? Because whatever your partner says, the inner child within you, the inner boy, thinks that it's sort of like a survival threat. So your nervous system will build this defense mechanism that won't allow you to actually be in your present self and your true self, because your inner child is controlling you and owning your body. So that's why, because your inner child is immature, you will sort of react to those triggers when you feel like, okay, I make mistakes. Those are like the triggers, right? And the bodily reaction, it can be like your chest tightens, you feel this nervousness, you sweat because you are blamed, and you cannot breathe because your breaths are really shallow. So that's a part of dissociation. You're disconnected from your present self. You're disconnected from your true self, from your actual physical body, not only emotionally, but actually physical as well. If you want to know more about this, I have a program linked down in the description below, and this program can guide you to healing your inner child within. You can learn more about dissociation. You can even learn about dream analysis and how you sort of bring those unconscious parts of yourself to light, so it's not going to sabotage all arenas in your life, like your relationships, your work, your career, self-mastery, self-leadership, self-worth. And you want to bring it to God because of that. I have a program linked in the description below, and you can work with me personally. You can ask me any questions, because early users get to ask me whatever guidance they need on, and I'm going to build a course from that. Now, point number 2 is when you are in that dissociation mode, when you are in that mode where you're not connected with your body, you are actually replaying the trauma unconsciously. And what does this look like, right? Okay, so let's say you are, before linking back to that example of you trying to not make mistakes, right? When you are in that moment where you are blamed by the person, when you are blamed by your partner, you think to your, like, you unconsciously think, oh, no, okay, sorry, the inner boy within you is like replaying and reliving that trauma, that moment where you are criticized, that moment where you felt, and the moment where you created that false beliefs, right? False belief. It's when you have this belief of, okay, if I make mistakes, I'm not enough, I won't earn love. That moment, or that belief, from that moment in that childhood where it created, where it formed, that thing, that scene that you have in your brain, right? It's actually locked in within your body, right? Because the trauma is like, it's embodied. It's not just cognitive. It's not just in your mind. Your body is like reacting to it, because it's like the trauma is like your body's like heart. Because okay, your body's most important organ is heart, right? And you just want to think to yourself that heart is full of soul, right? That inner boy is within your heart, is deep inside your heart. If that trauma is embodied, meaning it's not just from the brain, it's not just cognitive, it's not just with the mind, it's also embodied, that means that trauma lives within your heart. And because you are unconscious of it, or even subconscious of it, it's still buried down within your heart. that it's gonna self-sabotage yourself, and it's gonna leak out or seep out of your body to relationships, because you cannot fight what you can't see. So if you keep on burying it down and you don't bring it into light, you cannot really see what's the problem inside there. So that's what a lot of these men today, in today's world, are actually going through, is that they keep on replaying and reliving those traumas. Like, let's say your father abandoned you back then, right? Your father abandoned you, and then when you, I don't know, let's say a girl didn't text you back, or your friend didn't text you back, your mind or your brain will straight away think that that's a trigger. Okay, well, having a trigger is fine, but how we deal with that trigger, if our inner child is still in control of our body, we will react to that in an immature way. So let's say, yeah, our friend or our partner didn't text us back like throughout the day. Our body will think that that's sort of like a threat. This is a survival threat that we must overcome, and the inner child will be like, okay, what is happening? I'm scared. I don't want this. I want to be safe. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do this, right? Those are very, very uncontrolled reactions that the inner child does. So if you think to yourself, okay, like let's say your friend didn't text you back, or your partner didn't text you back throughout the day, how did you react? You have to really ask yourself. Because some people, well, perhaps you, also react by, let's say for example, your body will get triggered, and your body will receive a belief that they will abandon you. Because let's say your father abandoned you back then, right? Through divorce, through just, he has his own stories. We have to uncover that later on when we're doing this inner child work. And you will feel you're gonna be abandoned, right? You have that fear of being abandoned because your friend just didn't text you, right? Now, if you have logic, and if you know what's the true situation in this, right? Well, maybe your body's still trying to resist. Maybe your inner child right now, like you hearing what I'm saying, is still trying to resist. If you actually experienced that before, trying to resist the fact that your friend or your partner didn't actually want to abandon you. It's actually within yourself that you have to really fix. Why do you feel abandoned, right? Why do you feel this type of abandonment from that person? Because that person is actually physically not abandoning you, right? They just, perhaps they're busy or something, but that's why we need to work whatever is within us. We have to see, okay, that person is not abandoning me, right? And then when you feel like you're abandoned, your body will turn like, you will feel some kind of sensation in your body, right? You will feel some kind of tension, more of tension, pressure. You will not be able to breathe properly. You're not going to be able to breathe deeply properly, because again, dissociation, you're disconnected from your body, from your present self, because that trauma itself, it's like reliving it. Every time your friend didn't text you back, or your partner didn't text you back, in your mind and in your body, you will unconsciously replay that moment. It's like clicking a YouTube video, right? There's like an ad, like a short ad, but you didn't know it will come. It's like watching a YouTube video right now, like my YouTube video, and you have like an ad, right? And you don't know when the ad will come, right? And that ad is like a short duration, like let's say, I don't know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and you can press skip if you want. Now, if you don't know how to press skip, right? If you press skip, then you'll just go back to your present moment, and you just don't know what happened in the ad, right? You just don't want to know the ad. But let's say if you actually watch the ad and you actually look at it slowly, right? And you don't press skip until it actually ends, you will actually be, okay, what is this ad trying to tell me, Like you're not just like doing that action of pressing the skip button out of your out of like just reaction, right? That's the same thing like when you're in a situation where you're not connected to your present self. It's when your trauma relives in your mind, in your body, and you just want to ignore it. That's how it sabotages whatever conflict that you have with the person, because when the person want to say something or want to assert something, or the person didn't text you back, or your partner didn't text you back, and you will be mad at them, right? Like, why didn't you text me back because of this? Oh, you might be cheating on me. Oh, blah, 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 blah. All that, you know? Perhaps this is not you, but you should relate to another situation where you react to things where it's not actually your true identity. It's not your true self. You're just reacting because your body thinks it's a survival threat. You get what I mean now here, yeah? Okay. So we have to, in order for us to actually, like, our trauma is gonna always be replayed, and we will always, our body's always gonna resist us into actually being in our present self. Now, remember one of the key things that I tell you why we actually are dissociated from our present self is because we have these beliefs that is false, of course, that we actually created during our childhood, early moments to our adolescence. And then this will sort like the belief system, right? The beliefs, the false belief that we have is distorted because our inner map is, wait, I forgot what I was about to say here. Okay. So yeah, in order for us to not be controlled or not be owned and not sabotage with those false beliefs, like let's say I'm not enough, I'll never earn love, right? I mean, you're not saying this to yourself while you're in that present moment, right? You're not saying this to yourself when you're in an argument with the person or when your friend or your partner doesn't text you back. You're not saying it to yourself, but your body is like unconsciously trying to remember that feeling or remember that trauma. That's why it's like reliving it or replaying that trauma again, right? Your body, like, I mean, you're not gonna like verbally say that, okay, I'm not enough, I'm not loved. Your body will just remember that, and so your body will react before your mind does, right? And in order for us to actually get rid of those beliefs so we can actually live in our true self is by rewriting the inner map of the world. Because back then, during our childhood days, what we receive in our, because we're immature, what we receive from the environment is what we're trying to protect ourselves with. Because our caregivers, right, our parents, mom, dad, uncle, auntie, anyone, is whom we emotionally depend on, right? Isn't that right? Because we cannot survive without them, right? We're just gonna die if they just drop us in like a street and then we get run over by a car as a baby. We're gonna die. So we know the fact that it's already like wired in us. We know the fact that in order for us to survive, we must be closer to them, we must be near to them, right? And even though they're abusive, now that's the thing, even though they're abusive or they are critical to us, we will still rely on them because we're children. We cannot do anything else, the only one who can provide us food, provide us care, love, clothes, shelter, it's only them. So that's where we're not only physically depending on them, we also emotionally depend on them, because if we cry, we come to them. If we're mad, we come to them. If we want to react and we want to throw a tantrum, we also do it with them, around them, right? Because they're the only safe container that we can react to things, right? Like think of you know that what is it, if you watch one of the box I forgot who's that guy's name, but that guy, um, he like locked himself up in like a room that is very, very quiet, or a room where you can scream and no one hears it from the outside, right? Let's say we're using that analogy to say that when you're throwing a tantrum, when you're sad and when you're mad, you're trying to let all these raw survival energies, emotions, and feelings, you want to put it out, especially as a child. That's like sort of the safe container. And the safe container is home and parents and your family in order for you to actually express that emotion. Now, if we have that emotions and we are disapproved by it, by our parents, by our caregivers, like we try to express that emotion, we try to ask for some sort of need, right? Some sort of approval, some sort of connection, some sort of safety from that being, from that caregivers, because we emotionally depend on them. And if we don't get it, right, because we're immature, we will just receive the belief that, oh, I'm not gonna get it, I'm not gonna earn love because I didn't do what they said. And so that immature belief, that just small thing, it can ruin our lives when we reach adulthood. And then those traumas, most oftenly traumas are associated with something bad, but traumas can actually be something that should happen but actually didn't happen, right? In order for us to actually rewrite the inner map of our world is to actually reframe those lies with the truth, reframe those false beliefs with the truth. Now you have that belief of, I'm not enough, I won't earn love, love is conditional, right? If I don't perform, then I won't earn love from this person, from my mom, from my dad. You have to reframe the beliefs, right? You have to remove those beliefs and you have to say the truth. Now, out of all of this, we always need to connect it to the truth of God. I always connect with God because at the end of the day, you always need to surrender and submit yourself to God. And God is the one who created you with truth, that He is the one who's mercy. He's the Almighty One. He's the one who will provide you with all the love that you need, because the world is unstable and only Himself is stable. So you have to bring that wound, bring that trauma to God, and you want to replace those beliefs with the truth by prayer, by reading. For me, I read the Quran. You can read the Bible. If you're Muslim, you can also read the Quran as well. You want to have all of these prayers. You read the scriptures. You want to go to the wild. You want to go inside the wilderness, right? You want to go into the unknown and actually go with God, because God is mysterious. You want to have this intimacy with God, and you want to receive identity from Him. You want to receive those truths, that He loves you, that He is the one who's mercy, and you also want to repent as well to Him, and you want to forgive people around you. You want to forgive your caregivers for doing that to you. You want to bring all of those emotions and those feelings that you have to God, right? And that's sort of like the final work that we have to do. Now, not only before you bring anything to God, though, you have to do this, what we call the inner child work. Because if you don't know what to bring into light, then God won't see it. God is knocking at your door, is asking you to invite Himself. But if you don't know what to show to Him, that He won't know. Well, He knows, but He gives the choice and the will to yourself. If you want, like, what do you want to bring to Him? What do you want to ask Him for help, right? You have to have some sort of material to bring into light. You have to have this unconscious material to bring it to conscious, to bring it to God, right? So you want to do inner child work. Now, inner child work is essentially looking back to ourselves and then working with the unmet needs that we have, that we need, right? Let's say we need to perform in order for us No, let's say using my own example, right? Perfectionism, right? I always think that I have to be flawless in life because I have this mother wound that every little thing I do, she would criticize me. She would, um, she wouldn't affirm me of what I did was actually good. Well, she did affirm me, but I still felt that lack of like love that I need to receive because I didn't do things in a perfect way, like a very excellent manner, right? And what my child need is actually that word or that saying. What I believe is that, again, like I said it before, I if I make mistakes, then I won't earn love. And what my child need, what my inner boy within me need, is actually the truth of saying, okay, you have love even though things are messy around you. You know, God, please give me the love I need. Please tell me that I am loved without doing everything in a perfect way. That's why you have to go to the unknown with God in order for you to understand that God loves you if you're not perfect. I mean, you're just human, right? You cannot not make mistakes. You will make mistakes anyway. But of course, in every time you surrender these beliefs to God, right? And when every time you want to um, resolve your unmet needs, you always need to do the higher action. And what does higher action mean, right? Higher action is the most difficult action that you have to take that is literally the opposite of what you believe. So, okay, let's say you've done your inner child work. You've brought what you need to God. I need this. Please please replace the beliefs that I have with truth. And so every time you're in a moment, you're in an argument with someone, you want to breathe first and you want to say, I am loved. I am cared. It's fine making mistakes. This is not your true self. If you're going to react, that's not you. So you have to separate that identity between your inner child and what your true self is. And you have to mature your inner child saying, I've got you. You don't have to react. You don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes toward that partner. That partner will still love you, even though that you make a mistake. Perhaps you're wrong, but you're not the blame for everything. That's what you want to have. Now, after you do the inner child work, after you reflect yourself, deep reflection, also before that, the inner child work, a thing that I can add to it is you can also look at like if you have old paintings like me back there, right? Those are old pictures in canvas of myself. You can actually look at them and actually think and reflect and write, okay, what do you need? Because it gives this like emotional aura within you while you are deeply in reflection, right? That's just additional stuff. And you can also listen to music if you want, like instrumental music that reminds you, let's say, of your father or of your childhood, something nostalgic, right? And you want to address those unmet needs. Now, the higher action is, let's say you are a perfectionist, right? You want to do things messy. That's sort of like the higher action that you want to do. You want to do the opposite, right? You want to be safe with making mistakes. Like, let's say every time I'm in a car, I always want the rear view to be perfect. That's like behavioral, right? That's behavioral perfectionism. That's just like out of behavior physically. I always have to align like the car, you know, what is it? The car rear view with the window at the back as well. If you get what I mean, right? When you wanna, what is that called? The rear view of the car. I have to align it with the back window. That's sort of like behavioral patterns of being a perfectionist. And you have, in order for you to not do those stuff perfectly, and you bring it to your relationship as well, and it's gonna sabotage, you have to do things imperfectly, right? By doing things messy, by making mistakes, and being fine with it, because what your childhood thinks is that if you make mistakes, something dangerous will come towards you. Now, if you want to learn more about all these conscious, unconscious stuff, about rewriting your beliefs, about how to do it, how to approach God, and how do you actually receive identity from Him, because I am a I'm a family person. if I see boys around and their eyes sparkle, it's like there's so much gift in that that we actually we don't acknowledge it when we go into our adulthood, and we just sort of we're controlled by those reactions, those immature child in us that we have. And sometimes it's like there are gifts as a child that we also like close off. Like, let's say the child within us back then, he has dreams, he has, he wants to be playful, right? But let's say the parents disapproved of that. That can also be some unconscious work, that shadow work that you have to work on. And if you need help on that, link in the description down below. I have a program that I will personally give you advice, and you will become an expert, and you will have guidance on healing your inner wound, healing that inner child, healing that unmet needs that you have, so you can actually live in this present life, becoming a hero for your generations. When you have a child yourself, when you have daughters and sons yourself, you're not gonna put a curse on them, and actually you're gonna become conscious and aware of yourself, of what are you gonna say to them. And you just don't want to lash out. You don't want to increase your tone. You don't want to be angry at them all the time. You don't want to apply the same childhood wound that you have, or childhood trauma, on them. And in order for you to do that, is you have to become a hero, right? You have to become the person, the leader that will not bring any wound or trauma into your next generation, into your own children. You're going to become a father as well, right? In order for you to do that right now, is actually to be conscious and aware of yourself. So you have to do that. Link in the description down below. I'll see you in the program. Goodbye.